My involvement here is as the Director of Partnerships and Alliances for the International Association for Human Resource Information Management and as the inaugural chairperson for Consortium DEHR, which is shorthand for Decentralized Human Resource. This DE designation seems to have been already adopted in the tech and financial sectors. We've adopted that as well for human resource. If you're not familiar with IREM, we were established in 1980. This is our 40th anniversary this year. We're a vendor-neutral professional association for people who work in HR and technology. We award the HRIP, or Human Resource Information Professionals certification. We publish Workforce Solutions Review and offer education and training in the HR tech space. John's already gone through some of the pragmatic issues of implementing blockchain. The challenges that still wait ahead include issues of scale and performance, especially for large transnational enterprises, since there's no standardization and there seem to be some issues in terms of local law compliance. These have been addressed, and we'll talk about how they've been addressed in the future and how the consortium intends to foster communication and standardization in order to rapidly develop and deploy HR applications and to really support the gig economy and a global workforce. So these include issues of scale and performance, which are being addressed by the 5G and 6G rollout. Applications seem easy to build, but they're a little bit unorthodox in the sense that there's no standards, and the blockchain implementations that are out there are incompatible with each other. So there needs to be some sort of standardization for the HRIS world, HCM software developers and things like that. Creditability is a concern yet because it is new and emergent technology and only a few networks exist. And of course, we have the always ever concerning issue of linking to legacy systems and how long that would be required. The frameworks that have arisen over the last decade, and mostly in the last half dozen years, regarding data privacy of individuals include the Privacy Shield framework, the GDPR and California Consumer Privacy Act, and some initiatives out of the World Economic Forum. The problem fundamentally is this, that the laws for data protection vary around the world, red being the most intense and among the most industrialized countries, green being the least, and gray being non-existent. So you can take a look at these online at DLA Piper, a global law firm that understands privacy and security and has put together a wonderful map here, which I've used for this presentation. In addition to this, we've seen the rise in the last few years of the GDPR and the CCPA, which went into effect actually earlier this year. Let me give you a side-by-side analysis of these and why they differ and why they're not ubiquitously applicable or universally applied around the world. First, the GDPR solely applies to organizations that conduct business in the EU. The California Consumer Privacy Act only applies to businesses conducting business in California. The issue here is if you have an online application system and your applicants are in the EU or your applicants are in California, whether you're located there or not, you are still subject to these laws. So they hit us at the core in the HR sector and something we need to be aware of. So that level of compliance and any other local laws that are coming out, you can imagine for over 200 countries and literally tens of thousands of jurisdictions, the morass that we would find ourselves in managing privacy issues and personal information, especially in the HR sector, would be quite challenging. Personal data, for example, under GDPR refers to that of a specific individual or their household, whereas in the CCPA, it is strictly that of the individual and not the household. GDPR mandates consent opt-in, while CCPA mandates a consent opt-out. The GDPR is geared toward for-profit, non-for-profit, and some other agencies that are, say, governmental in nature. CCPA is exclusively geared toward businesses, for-profit entities, and they're not applicable to all. They're based on the revenue of the company and the database size. And finally, the GDPR indicates that data controllers like employers and social networks, things like that, that consume user data have to have a legal basis in order which to process that consumer data, whereas in California, there are no specific legal grounds for collecting or selling consumer information. Anybody can really set up a website and do it. They do expose themselves to legal jeopardy under these laws now, but to have a specific mission that's compliant to some regulation is non-existent in CCPA, apart from the CCPA. So Privacy Shield framework was created with the U.S. Department of Commerce in cooperation with the EU and Switzerland in order to develop a framework so that data protection requirements would be met when transferring personal information transatlantically. That was approved by the EU in 2016, by the Swiss in 2017, and earlier this year, the European Union's Court of Justice issued a judgment declaring the Privacy Shield invalid and inadequate. About 6 months after that, shortly after that, the Swiss also rendered their opinion invalidating the Privacy Shield framework. So what we saw this year was the World Economic Forum, who has taken a position over the last decade, mostly since 2016, but certainly I've seen communications prior to that, that address the need for blockchain technology, not only able to unlock radical improvements across the public and private sectors, but also to enable new business and governance models that help enhance security, accountability, and transparency for people worldwide. So as the International Organization for Public-Private Cooperation, the World Economic Forum convened its Global Blockchain Council, which drafted the Presidio principles to help safeguard the promise of this technology, and more specifically, they've included 16 principles aimed at protecting users and preserving the values of the technology so that all can benefit. Applications built on top of the blockchain-based systems should guarantee participant rights. So without going into all 16 of the principles, which would take more time than we have here today, I'd simply refer you to the Presidio principles either on the website, the World Economic Forum, or on our website at DEHR.org. The 4 groups of these principles, though, I will address. The first being transparency and accessibility. Here, the owner of the information, namely in this case the employee, has the right to information about the system. So these disclosures about rights and obligations, what are the risks, what are the benefits of using the system, particularly based on blockchain, these all need to be published and made obvious in the regulatory information to participants in the system. The second quadrant includes agency and interoperability, which emphasize the right for participants to actually own and manage their data. So if they don't have a data stored today in the cloud, they will. And that is kind of the presumption here in this 21st century technology and how it'll be used. They, as individuals, the owners of the data would have the ability to individually consent or revoke access to that data and have sufficient information on how it's being used and applied with other systems. The privacy and security rights of the data for the participant are assured, including having it protected in accordance with all internationally recognized security standards. Of course, 5G goes hand in hand with blockchain because it's based off of completely new protocols, new communication standards, and new security features. And then finally, accountability and governance, the right for the participants to understand the opportunities available to them to rectify information, opt out, and provide limited access to outside parties. But if there are, in fact, false, inaccurate, or incomplete data, how to rectify those. So the World Economic Forum came up with these Presidio principles, and early adoption was objectively based off of companies and individuals and government agencies interested in governance, transparency, accountability of data, portability. Of course, we can see that in the gig economy, as people work across borders. Economic freedom, value co-creation, all of this enhancing trust and security. However, to date, those actual implementations and working groups have been focused on financial transactions and supply chain, leaving a vacuum there for us to establish a consortium for decentralized human resource. And this is based on the Presidio principles, which we've evaluated as a team, and we believe are totally suitable as a guideline for future development of human resource blockchain applications. It would primarily be a platform for employee-owned data. It is focused on global workforce needs, not the needs of any one country or any one jurisdiction, and that's appropriate for IREM's role as a global organization to steward. And it's comprised of obviously software and systems vendors, but as well employers, HR membership associations within various jurisdictions and nation states, and others to create and administer a blockchain repository that is compliant with all local laws. So big job, and something that will take a team of people, and the consortium, of course, is volunteer. Nevertheless, it has a working requirement and participation by members in both the CET solutions that are provided and IREM's membership services and education and webinars is really self-evident and understood. So the consortium itself is committee-driven at the top. As I said, I'm the current chair. We have a number of other participants on the committee that's helping advise and steer us. We have an audit arm that's envisioned, an administrative function, and then various subcommittees, including liaisonships with government and industry, membership management, blockchain technology, integration and standards, various marketing events, legal and risk advice and management, working hand in hand with other organizations, law firms, CPAs around the world. And then finally, working in the research arena, primarily applied research in crypto and blockchain technology as it applies to human resource and global workforce management. John's offers, besides the obvious administrative abilities of the consortium, is the blockchain underlying technology and human resource microservices architecture, which he has developed with his team of people and apply worldwide over the years. And these components are open source and available to the participants, able to incorporate them and utilize them, especially employers, in complying with the emerging legislations around the world governing personal information. What are the employer benefits? Well, I discussed these and the employee benefits simply because these vendor benefits are self-evident. They're going to develop tools and solutions for companies, employers. The employers would find these tools helpful because they'll improve processes, accelerate onboarding, facilitate real-time background checks and education verification, saving time and costs, offering through this rapid startup solution from CET, plug-in and customization platform, microservices that offer massive savings and reduced implementation time. Obviously, CET supplied compliance applications to automate data mining and harvesting for government surveys, managing routine but challenging things such as retirement programs, especially as a retiree's funds would move from one employer to another or not, based on the employee record, since that information would reside with the employee. Compliance and penalty avoidance. This would be a huge benefit because while penalties have been scant to date on data breaches, they're coming, especially as the laws are crafted and teeth are put to the tiger. So blockchain would minimize that risk and exposure for employers that were adopting these kinds of solutions. And then finally, technology exchange and collaborative opportunities to drive applications quicker to the market. Employee benefits may not be as evident, but in fact might even be challenging because it would require the employee to have their own data store, But that's really, at the end of the day, the only way that they can manage their information is to have possession of it. So they need a tool, and this is, I think, is going to be the standard tool for the 21st century for everybody, your own personal blockchain of verified and veracious information from cradle to grave. This ensures, obviously, data privacy and portability, control of that data through a grant revoke process. Obviously, future employers would enjoy seeing applicants whose qualifications are already verified and might even prefer them. Integration with other applications such as visas, work permits, et cetera, in order to minimize repetitive and separate document collection. And finally, blockchain-based compensation readiness, so that when the day comes when you're compensated through the blockchain, you already have your personal employee data store set up. Now, with all that said, there's one other area that seems to have become ever present in this pandemic era, and that is private records relating to one's healthcare, infections, and vaccinations. That information right now resides in mostly centralized health information systems, paper documents, that sort of thing. And we see that as part of the record system afforded by this blockchain solution. So with those employee benefits in place and the employer benefits in place, we're hoping that the consortium will take on a fairly benevolent global role in attracting vendors, employers, and the other human resource associations to join with us in collaborating over this wonderful opportunity to build secure solutions that are compliant with the Presidio principles in assuring data privacy for everyone. For more information on this, we extend an invitation for your participation or request for more information by going to our website at www.dehr.org or just email us at information@dehr.org.